I have been called a food romantic. The first time that happened, I blanched, appalled. After all, I'm not someone who believes in the preciousness of food, nor do I tend to wax nostalgic about food's beauty. But I've decided that it's true that I am a food romantic, just not for the reasons that others might think. I believe in the power of food. Food is as elemental as the air we breathe and the water we drink. But it's more than that. It's more than just a means to keep ourselves alive and active. It's a shared experience that connects us all. Our deepest memories, our most profound memories, are those that we share around food. Backyard barbecues, shared times. Memories, some of celebration, others of mourning, all deeply remembered. Our most profound moments, those that are the ones that create the DNA of how we operate, those suggest that when we share food, when we break bread together, the ties of our community begin to bind us together, ever elastic as more and more of us come to the table. When I joined the mayor's office in 2010, Mayor Thomas M. Menino knew that he wanted to empower urban agriculture in the city of Boston. He had spent 20 years and nearly $10 million growing and supporting a network of community gardens here in Boston, places where folks went to grow, went to connect, went to share what they knew and what they grew. And when we situated a conversation, our first conversations in Dorchester around establishing Boston's first urban farm, there was resistance. They didn't trust the conversation. It wasn't the one that they'd been asking for. And after decades of disinvestment, quite frankly, they didn't trust the conversation. After months of community meetings and weeks walking the neighborhood and talking to neighbors, the distrust persisted. What we needed was the community leaders to not only come to the table, but to trust that whatever urban farm we were going to develop together would be responsive to the community. But they weren't buying it. So in an act of desperation and not knowing what else to do, I cooked dinner. Roughly 16 of us, made up of community leaders and potential urban farmers, and those of us in the city that had been charged with this conversation. We sat around a makeshift dining room table in a community room in Dorchester, and we had dinner together. I can't say that everything changed after that. It wasn't sunshine and happiness, but it was a moment of change. It was tangible. It was that moment when people began to trust one another. And in doing so, we were able to move the conversation forward. 3 months later, after community meetings and farmer presentations, in June of 2012, we launched 2 micro-urban farms in Dorchester. The questions that neighbors asked: how do you grow food in a neighborhood where folks have difficulty putting food on the table? And how do you make that food accessible? It still rings in my ears. It's why I believe that we should situate food at the center of every conversation around building community. I am a food romantic because I believe that food not only nourishes us, that not only keeps us alive and active, but that it helps us, it empowers us to conquer the world, to deal with all the small and large challenges that life sends our way. But it is a decision. It's a decision that we need to make, that each of us needs to make about where we're willing to put in the work. And so it was one of the reasons why I really enjoyed watching the Eggleston Farmers Market emerge, where the community, you could see the community make a decision about what they wanted to see happen. And they made a clear decision that they thought that they could bring together those people who had enough money to spend with farmers and fishermen and food producers to create a really vibrant urban farmers market, but at the same time bring purveyors to the table that were willing to be open and responsive to the entire community. And so what we found that we were able to create was a farmer's market where you could find scallops and you could find scup, or porgy as other cultures call it. But everyone was committed to a diversity of food and to a diversity of price point. So yes, I'm a food romantic. I believe that we should all be able to feed ourselves in a way that empowers us. But I am also a food romantic because I believe that food has the capacity to be a powerful conduit to build community. In Jamaica Plain, we have a really remarkable neighborhood, a really remarkable community, where people have listened and responded. We've built farmers markets, we've built new edible food forests, we've got good schools serving good food, we've got food pantries, we've got bodegas and corner stores and wonderful restaurants. We have built a network and a fabric that is responsive to the people of this community on all levels. And it was here that I learned, first, about using food to build a sense of community. So back in 2002, when we launched First Thursdays, a group of community businesses came together. Some of them were food businesses, my own included, but others were real estate companies and record stores, bookstores, flower shops. But everyone was committed to a single ideal, and that was, how do you create a consistent space that engages neighbors in walking up and down the street after dark in order to create a livelier, safer, more engaged streetscape? First Thursdays made that happen. We had taste tests, we had food competitions, we had receptions all up and down Center Street. And all you had to do was show up. You would find food and beverage wherever you went. You met artists, you saw their work, you heard musicians play, and you met your neighbors along the way. Year after year, more and more of our neighbors walked up and down Center Street after dark to pick up dinner, to go to the bank, to visit the pharmacy. And more, we saw the health and vibrancy of our streetscape emerge. We saw the grates that used to shutter our stores at night disappear. And as our streetscape became healthier, so did we. Food has that capacity. It has the capacity to bring us all together. And when we make a commitment to not only our food endeavors, but also those spaces in which we connect around food, we create a space in which we can be as healthy and as vibrant as possible. And in doing so, we create healthier, stronger, and more resilient communities. Thank you. And here's to being a food romantic.